Welcome to another edition of It's Your City. My name is Jim Shirk, Board of Supervisors, Ward 4 here in Carson City. Right here is the trophy I won in Dancing with the Stars. My teacher was Robin Catro, and she was great, and she's also appearing in Chicago. So make sure you see that at the Community Center when it comes out in May. Let me just talk about what's going on here in our city. And first off, I'd like to say thank you to all the city staff for having me come into their departments, meet with their staff, and with the employees who work within that parameters of that department. It's been very beneficial. Also, when I'm driving around in the city and I see city employees working in different areas, I usually pull over, introduce myself, and have a small conversation with them. I've really learned a lot from department heads and from the city employees in the street, and I really want to thank them. At the last board meeting, we had Mary Walker come forward, and who is our lobbyist here, and I've been asking for a little bit of time that individuals, groups, or organizations who receive funding from Carson City should come to the board periodically, hopefully quarterly, and make a presentation to the board. And Mary Walker was the first one. Hopefully, the next one in line is Brewery Arts Center, which will be in May, I believe. And then hopefully also NNDA will be coming forward, and we can have a discussion with them. I think it's very important to know how these individuals, these groups, and organizations utilize the funding that they receive from Carson City. I think it's helpful for the board as well to learn what they're doing and how they're doing it. As you know, the sewer and water bonds were finally approved in the last board meeting. It was passed by a 4-to-1. I did not vote in favor of the water and sewer bonds. And as you know, citizens, you probably are aware that every year for the next 4 years, your rates will increase. Now, what I'd like to talk about here is a little something that took place at the board meeting, and it's called the supplemental request made by department heads. And what that means is this agenda item, department heads would submit to the city manager supplement requests for employees for their departments. And we had roughly $90,000 to allocate to different departments. But the request totaled roughly $900,000. So some decisions had to be made. And what's interesting here on this list is the animal shelter was requesting 2 hourly employees with a payroll of $22,000. And also the BRIC was requesting that the library acquire $14,000 to have a position filled for 25 hours a week to man the phones at the BRIC. Couple of things here. On the animal shelter, it's surprising that we don't have $22,000 in the animal shelter budget. That being said, we are building a $4 million complex for them. So hopefully these positions can be filled before we build that new complex. Regarding the BRIC, we have Michael, who oversees the BRIC. His grant ran out at the library, and the city absorbed that cost, which roughly is, with benefits, is roughly about $80,000. So out of our pocket, or out of redevelopment pockets, I'm not sure where he gets paid from, we are already supplementing his income. So to ask us to supplement someone to man the phone for $14,000, I understand that, but the other consequences is we were told that if we don't do this, the BRIC could shut down. Now that's surprising and alarming all in the same time. Next, I'd like to touch base on what they call the quarterly business review. And this is when department heads come before the board and they give us an update quarterly. The most interesting came from the sheriff and the fire department. What was missing from this discussion was the street and maintenance and the animal shelter. I think if those departments had been there, it would have been beneficial to the board members. From that, I did ask when the next, what they call strategy and performance review would be conducted, which is a yearly get-together of all department heads and all local elected officials. And we talk about strategies for the community. We haven't had one since January 17th, 2013. I was told that this was postponed, waiting for the new city manager come in so they can do it at their convenience and to be a part of the loop. What I find somewhat a little frustrating is that we're going into debt $20 million on the one is sales tax, and we're not allowing the new city manager to be part of that strategy and have in a voice on where we're going and what we're doing with that. Next, I'd like to touch base on the city capital improvement projects. There are over 100 projects involved in this, totaling about $10 million. I just want to touch base on the top 6. Number 6 was the library burglar alarm, which was $22,000. Number 2 was the dishwasher at the detention facility, which was $14,000. And the number 1 on the capital city improvement list was the steamer for the detention facility. Now, that being said, what I'd like to touch base on next is a couple of things, and one is the 1-inch sales tax. That passed by a 4-to-1 vote. I did not vote in favor of it because I think there's alternative methods we can do. And what I'd like to touch base on is what I presented at the board, and I labeled it a better plan for Carson City. In particular, if you look at the downtown corridor, I believe that should be funded through redevelopment. We collect about $2 million annually, and that's where the funding should come for Curry Street and the downtown corridor and the south corridor down by the auto dealership, because redevelopment funds are collected from property owners and they pay for this, and that's what that money should go for. Now, as to the other corridors, I believe that at this juncture, as I told the board, I voted against it, but I'm willing to work with you on all of these projects. And I just want to touch base on the MAC. The MAC building, I believe, should be built at Mills Park. I also, in my presentation to the board, believe I can get room tax increase to help offset some of the cost, and I think that's beneficial to have this new building built at Mills Park. At other facilities within the city are all built there as well. It will be better facilitated for sports tournaments and for the community as well. Over at the existing Girls and Boys Club, we could use that place where they were going to build it for an open field, soccer, and so forth. And then we allow the Boys and Girls Club to add a gym attached to their existing building, supplementing them $1 million to help them get on the way. That being said, there is a better plan coming forward out of all of these, I believe. And let me just touch base over my postcard. This postcard, I walked the community prior to the vote, and I passed out 6,258 postcards asking for input on where you were on this proposed 1/8 of an inch sales tax. I can tell you the majority of individuals who contacted me were not in favor of this, but they were in favor of the new animal shelter. That being said, when this came up at the Board of Supervisors, I recommended that we have an oversight committee, not only for the animal shelter, not only for the MAC building, but for all corridors. We need to have an oversight, community-based committee that works with city staff. Otherwise, what could happen at this juncture is city staff will bring an agenda item back to the board for all of these projects for a yes or no vote and approval, however you want to put that. I believe we need to get citizens involved, and the best way we can do that is have voices within our community sit on a committee to help staff and give direction to staff. After yesterday's board meeting, I was informed that the 1/8 of a cent sales tax will be coming back to the Board of Supervisors for another 2 votes. This is due to possibly not having the posting of the prior agenda items in the proper place at the proper time. This is only a technicality, but it must come back to the board to secure, once these bonds are taken out, that we're within our legal parameters to put into effect this 1/8 of a sales tax. So it will be coming back to the board for 2 more votes before we will implement the sales tax. This is very important for our community, and there will be an agenda item on this as well. Let me discuss a little bit about the downtown corridor. Today I just dropped off some drawings to Lee Plemmel at the building department. I'm asking him to review these and have some input with him later today or next week. And what this plan involves is we have diagonal parking in the middle of Carson Street. We have 2 lanes of traffic on one side of the street going each way, and then we have 1 lane of traffic to allow you access to the diagonal parking. At each end of Carson City, we have a lane reduction. No roundabouts, just a lane reduction. I've submitted that, as I said, to Lee Plemmel today. I'll get with him later in the week. And this goes back to citizens being on the committee and oversight, or however you want to put that. We need citizens' input. I believe what I put together here today and gave Lee is another option that we should look at. I think it's better. And to wrap up this discussion, I just want to touch base about what was on our agenda yesterday, and that is the hiring of the new city manager. We have 5 candidates in the process right now. We have some community meetings set up where you, the citizens, can attend or watch on this cable network. And through this process, probably by mid-May, we will be making our selection. And that wraps up this week on It's Your City. My name is Jim Shirk. My information is at the bottom here, and if you'd send me an email, I'd love to hear from you and keep you informed on what's going on here in Carson City. Carson City, I love this place, I love our community, and it's a great place to live, raise a family, and enjoy life. Thank you.